Okay, so ready to dive into this Robert Kiyosaki book, Second Chance.
Yeah, let's do it.
This isn't just like your typical money management book, you know?
Right.
It's like a deep dive into like all those systems that kind of run the world, especially like after we've had some crazy economic stuff happen.
Yeah.
It's like, remember back in 2007, when the market crashed?
Yeah.
He kind of uses that as like the starting point,
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Okay.
what do we do in now, W?
Yeah, and what's so interesting is like he doesn't just focus on, what should one person do.
Right.
He like pulls back the curtain on all this bigger stuff that's going on. Those forces that are at play that we don't always see.
Right.
He wants you to really understand how this whole money game is set up and like more importantly,
Yeah.
how you can actually come out on top even when it seems like the rules are like totally against you.
So he's saying like, forget everything you thought you knew about money.
Yeah.
Like, time for a serious reality check.
Exactly. He's basically saying that, like, most of us are stuck in this old way of thinking about money. Like it's left over from the industrial age. We're told to get good grades, go to college, find a safe and secure job, and, like, just save for retirement.
Yeah.
But, like, in the world today, that old way of doing things, it just might not cut it.
Okay, so he's saying the classic work hard, save your money advice isn't enough.
Yeah.
So what's the alternative? We can't just like wish our way to financial freedom, right?
Well, this is where it gets really, really interesting. Kiyosaki, he introduces this idea of what he calls the cash F-flow quadrant.
Okay.
And it's this model that splits people up into 4 groups. It's all based on how they earn their money. So you got employees, self-employed business owners, and investors.
Okay.
And he says that to be really, truly financially free, you got to move from the left side of the quadrant, which is the employees and the self-employed,
Right.
over to the right side of the business owners and investors.
Okay.
So it's less about just working more
Right.
and more about working smarter.
So it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter.
Yeah.
But how do we actually make that jump?
And that's where understanding assets and liabilities is so key.
Okay.
Kiyosaki, he says, an asset is anything that puts money into your pocket.
Right.
And a liability is anything that takes money out.
Okay.
And he uses this example of a house.
Okay.
Like, most people think of their house as like a big asset, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, hold on. If it's not making you money, if it's not generating income, it's actually a liability because it's costing you money. Think about it. Your mortgage payments,
Yeah.
your property taxes, all the upkeep.
Hold on. So my dream home, the one I'm like working so hard to pay off, that could actually be like holding me back financially?
It can be.
That's a tough one.
It is. It's a lot to process.
But he's not saying don't buy a house. He's just saying you got to rethink how you look at money and start looking for opportunities to get those assets that will create passive income for you.
Right. Okay, so assets are key. But haven't we always been told to save money? Like, isn't that important? He dives into that too.
Yep.
He questions that whole traditional save, save, save idea, especially in the world today.
Yeah.
Like with inflation and our money losing its value, just hoarding cash in your savings account,
Yep.
maybe not the best plan.
Okay, whoa. So if saving isn't enough and we need to get these assets,
Right.
but our house might actually be holding us back financially, what are we supposed to do? This is a lot.
Don't worry, Kiyosaki gives us a game plan.
Okay.
And it starts with understanding these sort of hidden forces that are shaping our world. He calls it the invisible hand of money.
Okay.
And part of how it's controlled is by this thing he calls GRUNCH. It's basically this powerful elite group, and they're pulling strings in the financial systems to benefit them.
GRUNCH. Sounds a little scary, right?
It does.
Like a shadowy group controlling everything.
It does, but he backs it up with examples from history. He talks about like the Rockefellers and the Carnegies. They made their huge fortunes because they understood these systems.
Oh,
And they kind of knew how to play them to their advantage.
right. And Kiyosaki's point is that a lot of times these systems are actually working against everyday people like us. They keep us trapped in this cycle of debt and struggling financially.
So how do we break free from that?
Well, that's where the really important part of the book comes in. He gives us this framework for understanding those different types of assets we were talking about, like strategies for actually making good debt work for you instead of against you. And I think most importantly, it's about shifting your mindset. You can actually take control of your money and your future.
Okay.
And he really hammers home how crucial financial education is. Like, you got to become a student of money to make money work for you.
So it's about leveling the playing field by learning, right?
Into that.
Arming ourselves with the knowledge. But what does that actually look like? How do we become those students of money?
Well, that's where his idea of the 4 intelligences comes in.
Okay.
Physical intelligence, mental intelligence, emotional intelligence and spiritual
Sure.
intelligence.
He says most schools, they only focus on that mental intelligence part. But he argues you need all four to really succeed in life, especially when it comes to money. So let's break those down a little.
Okay.
When he talks about physical intelligence, think of it like your ability to get stuff done, take action.
Okay.
It's not just about like being strong or whatever.
Right.
It's about having discipline, a good work ethic, and like being willing to get out of your comfort zone.
Okay. So it's like be proactive, not just waiting around for something good to happen.
Yeah.
But how does that connect to money?
Okay, so let's say you're trying to build a business, right?
Okay.
You could have the best idea in the world, but if you don't have that physical intelligence to put in the work to network to make those sales calls,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to happen.
Right. It's like that fuel that keeps us moving forward.
Yeah.
What about emotional intelligence? That's a big one, right? Especially with money.
Huge. It's so important for managing those emotions, especially fear and greed, which, by the way, can make you make really bad financial decisions.
Definitely been there.
Yeah.
Those impulse buys that you regret later.
Totally. We've all been there. Think about it this way.
Okay.
The stock market takes a dive, right?
Yeah.
Someone with low emotional intelligence, they might totally freak out and sell everything at a loss.
Yeah.
But someone with high emotional intelligence, they take a breath, look at everything rationally, and they might even see it as a chance to buy more.
Okay, so emotional intelligence is like having that steady hand on the wheel when things get crazy.
Exactly.
What about the mental intelligence part?
Yeah, that's the one we probably hear the most about.
Yeah.
That's your ability to learn, process information, think critically.
Okay.
It's about understanding how things work, whether it's the stock market, real estate, or starting your own thing.
So it's about being a lifelong learner, right? Always trying to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one, spiritual intelligence. That one's not as obvious when we're talking about money.
I know it's interesting. It's often overlooked, but Kiyosaki argues that it's actually crucial for connecting to like a bigger purpose than just making a buck.
Okay.
It's about making sure your money goals line up with what you value
Right.
and using your wealth to actually make the world a better place.
So it's not just about stacking up cash. It's about using it for good.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Money is a tool. You can use it to build something that helps you and your community and like the whole world.
I'm really seeing the bigger picture now. So it's not just about understanding the technical stuff about money.
Yeah.
We got to develop those other parts of ourselves too
Yeah.
to really create that true financial well-being.
Absolutely. And that actually connects to another big idea in Second Chance. It's the difference between two types of rich people,
Okay.
the ones who earn a lot of money
Yeah.
and the ones who build real lasting wealth.
Right.
He says that a lot of high earners, like doctors or lawyers, they get stuck in this trap of working crazy hours and spending almost everything they make.
Oh, yeah. I know people like that.
They might look rich.
Right. They look rich, but they're not truly free.
Exactly. They're not financially free.
Right. And that's where his focus on building assets comes in.
Yes. He says true wealth comes from generating that passive income.
Okay, so money's flowing in even when you're not working.
Exactly.
Passive income is the dream.
It is.
But how do we actually
Yeah.
make that happen?
Well, he talks about diversifying your assets.
Okay.
It's not just about traditional investments like stocks and bonds.
Right.
You got to think about things like real estate businesses.
Yeah.
Maybe even precious metals like gold and silver.
Okay.
Those things have the potential to hold their value or even go up in value when times are uncertain.
So don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially if that basket's vulnerable to inflation.
Exactly. And remember those asset classes we talked about before?
Yeah.
Primary, secondary, tertiary?
Yeah.
Each one has different risks and rewards.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki, he really encourages us to become students of each of these asset classes,
Right.
understand how they work, and find those investments that really fit our risk tolerance and our goals.
So it's like learning a whole new language.
Yeah,
Right. The language of money.
exactly.
It takes time and effort.
Yeah,
But if we can do that,
yeah.
that's how we can create that lasting wealth and that financial freedom.
And that's really what it's all about, right? Empowering people to take control of their money and their lives.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another big thing in Second Chance. He talks about building a strong team of advisors.
So finding those mentors and experts to guide us.
Exactly. None of us can be experts in everything.
Right.
But if you can build a team of people you trust, financial planners, attorneys, mentors,
Yeah.
they can help you navigate all the tricky parts of the financial world and avoid making big mistakes.
Like having a co-pilot when you're flying somewhere new.
Exactly.
But finding those advisors, that's tricky.
It can be. And he actually spends a lot of time in the book talking about how to find advisors who actually care about you. And he also talks about becoming financially literate yourself so you can make good decisions and not get taken advantage of.
So you're involved in your finances, not just handing it all off to someone else.
Right. It's about being empowered, having that knowledge, surrounding yourself with good people, and really taking control of your financial destiny. And that brings us back to one of his main messages.
Okay.
It doesn't matter where you're at on your financial journey. It is never too late for a second chance
I love that.
to make things right, to learn from our past and create a better future for ourselves.
It's so true. We talk about second chances in life,
Right.
but we don't always think about that when it comes to our money.
Exactly.
It's like we think once we've messed up our money a couple times, that's it. We're stuck.
Yeah, like it's set in stone.
Yeah,
But Kiyosaki says we always have the power to turn things around, you know?
right.
He even connects this whole idea to something big that happened in history. Nixon taking the US dollar off the gold standard back in '71.
Oh, yeah, he talks about that in the book.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I've never fully understood what that means for, like, regular people.
It's a huge deal. Kiyosaki says that's what led to this hot money, basically. It's like money that's created out of thin air.
Wait.
Yeah, through this thing called fractional reserve banking.
Okay.
And this hot money, it's everywhere. It causes inflation, creates those economic bubbles.
So that's that invisible hand he's talking about.
Exactly.
These systems that mess with how much our money is actually worth.
Right. And it makes you wonder, like, is just saving money even enough anymore?
Right.
That's why understanding all those different types of assets is so important.
Yeah.
Kiyosaki says with all this inflation, we got to think about assets that actually have real value. Things like real estate businesses,
Okay.
precious metals like gold or silver,
Right.
because those have a better chance of holding their value or even going up when the economy's a mess.
So it's like diversifying, right?
Exactly.
Not putting all your eggs in one basket, especially if that basket's about to fall apart.
Exactly. And remember, we talked about those primary, secondary, and tertiary asset classes.
Yeah.
They each have their own risks and rewards.
Right.
Kiyosaki says we got to learn about each one like it's a school subject.
Okay.
Really understand them so we can pick the investments that match what we're comfortable with and what we want to do with our money.
It's like you said, learning a whole new language.
Yeah.
The language of money.
Exactly. And it takes work.
Yeah.
But if you put in the effort, you can build that lasting wealth and have real financial freedom.
That's awesome.
And that's what Second Chance is all about. Giving people the tools to take control of their money and their lives.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, is there like one big thing you want listeners to remember?
I think it's this: no matter where you're at with your finances right now,
Oh.
it's never too late to make a change.
Love that.
Embrace learning. Find those mentors who can guide you.
Right.
And never stop looking for ways to grow your wealth and build a life you love.
That's great advice. Second Chance by Robert Kiyosaki. It's a call to action, a roadmap for this crazy financial world, and a reminder that you can always rewrite your story.